One father has been working for years to address gun violence in the U.S. Manuel Oliver's son, Joaquin, was killed in the 2018 mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. In his son's memory, he co-founded ChangeTheRef.org, which empowers students to fight for change through activism and education. Manuel joins me now to talk more about the effort on Capitol Hill to enact gun law reform. Manuel, first of all, thank you so much for being here. We have so much to learn from you. We have seen at least 20 mass shootings in the past week since Uvalde, and lawmakers say, okay, this time around, we're going to tackle gun reform. But we've been here before, right? We've heard this story before, and each time it's fallen to the wayside. Does this time feel different to you?
Well, I like to think that a difference is the result of what we do. I used to think that by electing the right people, that will be it, and then they will take care of, make a difference. Now I think that we need to get involved as a society and be the difference.
And how can we do that? Because we know in your activism, you've made some bold moves, you've taken some bold steps. What do you believe needs to be done, and what do you want to see? What is the change you want to see?
Well, the first change that I want to see is a change on the reaction of what's going on. I think that we should all be offended with shootings inside schools, outside schools, home abusers. That should not be a normal thing. And we have learned that it's okay. In America, it could happen, and there are no consequences. And the first change that I want to see is everyone in a disruptive attitude fighting this.
And when you say fighting this, what sorts of action do you think should be taken from people who are protesting this and want to see this change?
Well, the president was very clear last night with what he wants to see, which is exactly what we told the president that we wanted to see. So
he's listening, you think? You think he's listening?
He's listening. He addressed it yesterday. Mm-hmm. I see more people talking about the subject these last 15 days. But look at the price to get them involved, to get them to start talking about it. Right. So we needed to go through another mass shooting in a school, the Sandy Hook #2, for them to react. This is exactly what we cannot allow to happen.
Now, we do know that there is a bipartisan group of senators right now working on this, and we hear they're making progress. But we did hear from Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy that he's prepared for failure. Now, as you know, his state had another horrific mass shooting, the Newtown Elementary School shooting. So what do you think the senators should know? Because we're not talking about the House, right? We're talking about the Senate, where whatever these senators are talking about are very incremental reforms. Would you be satisfied with a bill that came out of the Senate? They're not even talking about an assault weapons ban. That's not even on the table. So would you be satisfied with some sort of legislation that falls far short of what you think we should see?
Probably not. But I have to tell you something. Chris Murphy needs to win this battle. When I was outside of the White House for more than 17 days waiting for a meeting with President Biden, Chris Murphy went and visited me. He came to where I was. And he told me, Manny, you know what? We should get together and put our sleeves up and work in a round table all together to make a difference. So I'm ready for that. Mm-hmm. So Chris Murphy has to win this battle because we're not taking any more baby steps. Mm-hmm. When you ask me, or when I hear from the president last night, can you please ban assault weapons? Or if you cannot do that, then raise the age. Those are not two similar things. Like banning assault weapons will avoid something like what happened in Vegas. Right. Raising the age won't.
Right. And there was an assault weapons ban, just expired.
Absolutely.
So, when you say Chris Murphy has to win this battle, what does that mean? You mean he probably won't get reelected if he doesn't succeed in convincing this bipartisan group of senators to pass some legislation?
Let me tell you what I mean. I believe the word of people. Mm-hmm. When you shake my hand and you promise me something, a commitment, I trust you. It happened with Biden. If you don't achieve your promises, because you don't go around promising people like me things that you cannot do, then you will be held accountable.
But what if he says, Manny, I did everything I could, but these Republican senators wouldn't budge?
Well, then the shame on our system, because that means that we need to wait till November to vote for other people. And that means more than 20,000 victims from today. So the other option is not an option.
Right.
And there is no negotiation. This is between the good and the bad. And it needs to happen now. We should be the difference.
And in the meantime, what would you tell people to do? Because there is a lot of frustration out there. There are people who want to enact some sort of change. They're tired, like you said, of waiting for legislators to come around to this point. What would you suggest people do with this energy they have?
Disrupt. Get out there. On the 11th, we're going to have a huge march in D.C. Be there. If you cannot go to the march in D.C. that March for Our Life is putting together, then there will be a local march for you to go. Don't accept these as a reality that you need to live in, because you might be the next victim.
It does certainly seems like gun violence is sparing no one at this point. Manuel Oliver, thank you so much for joining us. We truly appreciate you giving us your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.